I've been to prison 3 times. I've been to federal prison, state prison. I've been to various county jails throughout the country. So I've been exposed to a lot of different jail and prison cultures, whether it be the East Coast, West Coast, South, um, Midwest, Pacific, all over the country. I've done time. So I think that I can give a very honest and balanced opinion of what goes on in jail and prison. One thing that I'm asked pretty frequently is about homosexuality, which I think speaks more about the person that's curious about that than it does about me. And I think it's bizarre that that's like probably the most common thing that like people that haven't been to prison ask me. And they go like right to it. There's no foreplay. You would think they'd be like, "Hey, yeah, were people getting stabbed in there? Were there riots? Was it crazy?" It's like, "Hey, were you fagging off in there?" I'm like, "No." Yeah, gross. It's disgusting. Ugh. I was just wondering. And they're like, "Whoa." And it's like very obvious to me. There's a lot of repressed homosexuality, both in prison and out in the free world. Now, I'm heterosexual, but I'm don't care about who other people fuck. It's never bothered me. And in a lot of ways, because I've been a heroin addict for 20 years, I know what it's like to feel marginalized and to be vilified and to have to kind of do what I do in the shadows. Believe it or not, shooting heroin is not socially acceptable. And it's not like they have parades where people are like, legalize heroin. That's just not happening right now. But, there's been some strides made with the gay and lesbian community, transgender, bisexual, LGBT, is that how you say it? And that's cool. It doesn't affect me personally. If I had to vote on a ballot, I would just vote for people to do what they want. That's whatever. As long as it's not hurting another person. Because I understand that you can't help who you're attracted to. If you're attracted to guys, you're attracted to guys. If you're attracted to women, you're attracted to women. If it's both, it's both. If it's children, it's children. If it's animals, it's animals. Now, the latter two, children and animals, is non-consensual, and therefore you should never act on that. I mean, it's very bizarre to me that there's people that are actually attracted to animals or children, but it's a reality. And if you're not acting on it, if you're not, doing anything that is exploitative, if it's just in your mind and that's it, then that's whatever. I would hate to be stuck in that mindset, but hey, if you're not hurting another person, you should be able to do what you want. Not hurting an animal, whatever. Prison is an ideological breeding ground for hatred, xenophobia, homophobia, misogyny, racism, anti-authoritarian sentiment. It's just cultivating this collective negative energy. And I think there's a lot of repressed homosexuality there and out here in the free world. I tell it how it is. I'm going to be completely honest about everything, and that's what this video is about. Homosexuality, rape, in prison. Is it actually going on? Is it not? And what I know about it. What I've seen, what I've heard, and what I haven't done. So, prison has a negative connotation, just straight up. Straight up, you hear the word prison, it's considered a very scary place. You hear about riots, you hear about stabbings, but you also hear about rapes, homosexuality, dropping the soap in the shower. So naturally, when I was 23 and going to prison for the first time, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do if someone tries to rape me? Not the toughest guy in the world, What do I do? Start sucking on my middle finger so they're like, oh, ew, because they don't want to feel gay. There's a lot of this hyper masculinity bravado thing in there. They don't want to feel like you're enjoying it. Imagine if you're like God forbid you're in that situation, you just start sucking on your middle finger and you just turn around and act like you're like you're enjoying it. They're going to be grossed out and they're going to stop doing it, maybe. I don't know, it's a pretty radical example, and I'm not trying to make light of rape because that's the most deplorable thing a human being can do to another human being. But But honestly, it's a fear that you just inherently have going into prison, especially at a young age. And, you know, when I was younger, I read a lot of books about prison. I read Edward Bunker, I read Eddie Little, I read Abbott, In the Belly of the Beast, one of my favorites. I read The Hot House about Leavenworth. So I had known that homosexuality was prevalent in the 60s, 70s, 80s, part of the 90s in the prison experience. And back then it was like a social Darwinism where alpha males ruled, and they would have what's called a punk. A punk in prison is you're gay, or a lot of times you're somebody's sex slave. And I would read these books, and I'd hear from old school convicts that, back in the day, if you were weak, you went in there and somebody would try you, and if you showed your true colors and you were considered a bitch, you got treated accordingly. You'd have to go do their laundry, fold their clothes, and they'd fuck you. And that's just how it was back in the day. So that, I read this stuff 18, 19, 20 years old. I find myself in federal prison for the first time at 23, and I have no idea what to expect. Very quickly I see that there's a lot of gay play. People are commenting that a lot. Like, hey man, you certainly joke about homosexuality a lot. Like, what's going on, man? Are you all right? The reason I do that, and the reason I do a lot of stuff in my stories, is to try to paint and exemplify what prison's like, sentiment-wise, atmosphere-wise, what it's actually like in there. Gay play, gay humor is a huge part of doing time. And I've heard that the military can be like that as well. Whenever you have a group of men, that's one thing that's just a very common joke. People like go up to other people and be like, you want me to suck your dick right here? Prove you're gay in front of everyone? Silly gay humor. Hey, where I can score some dong? Shit like that, right? And I had an OG convict school me when I first got busted, and he told me, check it out. Don't engage in the gay play. I said, why? He said, because a lot of times people are fishing. They're trying to see if you're down, and they're trying to open that line of dialogue with you and make it a reality. Like, what do you mean? Someone will be like, shoot, you want me to suck your dick? Yeah, I do. All right, I'm going to suck it. Look, I'm sucking it now. And then it actually happens, and you're like, oh my God. I'm like, fuck, I don't want that to happen. He's like, yeah, don't gay play with people. He's like, because, yeah, a lot of people are joking, but there's people that aren't. And it's not like a lot of people go to prison and aren't gay, and then at some point, they're around men for so long that the men with the feminine features, start looking attractive to them. There's a lot of weirdos in prison too. But, and you can do the joke, and majority of people probably are joking back. Like, hey, I'm doing a raffle. If anyone wants to suck my dick, winner gets to suck my dick. And there's always going to be the village idiot who, is gay. I'm not saying that you're an idiot if you're gay, but there's some person that's not very smart, doesn't realize it's a joke. He'll be like, oh, right here, pick me. And everyone looks at him and knows. And that's a joke, but there's really situations like that where you're joking and then somebody, will think you're serious and call your bluff, yeah, I'll suck your dick. And you're like, ugh. So anyway, when I had gone to Victorville, it was the first federal prison that I'd been to. I was at MDCLA, so I was at the holding facility before that, and now I made it to an actual federal prison, a hardcore one, rough, combative. And I started learning that all that stuff with the punks and having, your little bitch, all that started kind of dissipating early 90s. By the time I got to prison, it was actually against politics. Peckerwoods, independent Peckerwoods, if you're not a white gang member, you're not a skinhead, you're run by the Aryan Brotherhood. That's like your big homie. That's the hierarchy. If you're a Soreño, a Southsider, you're run by the Mexican Mafia, Black Hand. And Mexican Mafia, and I don't know what Norteños are doing. I live in Southern California. I don't even know what their whole deal is. But Southern California, whites take orders from the Aryan Brotherhood, and Southsiders take orders from the Mexican Mafia. And there's political rules that they've established where homosexuality is not allowed. Now, one thing that's interesting about federal prison that's different than state prison is there's not protective custody. In state prison, if you're a homosexual, if you're transgender, they're going to put you in protective custody because they create so many issues. You know, they create issues because, okay, so the Southsiders in the woods can't engage in homosexual activity, but it's wide open for Pisces and blacks. They're not tripping like that on it. So, like, people will kill people over punks, you know, and so there's transgenders in federal prison that are just walking the yard, big old tits. I've seen them walking around, and like, you know, some big, you know, transgendered woman is walking the track, and like some like skinny black guy has like his jacket around her, and like he's holding her hand, and you see him like Eskimo kiss on the yard, and this is completely serious. And it's whatever, you know, it doesn't bother me at all. It's not like, you know, I don't even pay attention to it. I think it's weird that people do. Again, that says more about what's going on inside of them than it does for someone that's just ignoring it, right? So, homosexuality is something, from what I've heard, that happens celly on celly. Most commonly, you know, and, you know, I think I've dodged a couple bullets, you know, before. You know, I think I've had a couple weekend warrior cellies that, like, will come in and they'll be like, dude, you'll never guess what I just heard. I'm like, what? Brian is sucking Danny's dick every night. I'm like, yeah, that's fucking disgusting. Yeah, man. Like all deflated, hoping I'd be like, man, that sounds fun. We should start doing that. And really, I have no idea how it actually goes down, but what I've been told is that it's celly. Well, that's not true. I knew this black guy. He was really cool. He was running a store, you know, 2-for-1 items, whatever. He had a bunch of commissary, and if you missed your commissary, you could go get his stuff with some inflated prices, whatever. He had been down like 30 years. He was from Boston, involved with kidnapping. So he had been down since he was 18. And he told me straight up, he's like, listen, you're a heroin addict. My vice is punks. Punks with big asses. Dandy asses. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. And like a new punk would come in and he'd like, there'd be like a cell switch. Punk would be in his cell for like a week. You could like look out your little window and see the light on. I mean, they were just straight raging it in there. Who knows what was going on? It was, you know, but he told me that his vice was punks. He'd been down since he was 18, and he said he wasn't gay. He just fucked punks in the ass and looked at porn. There's not even porn in prison, really. It's mostly like black and white copies, where all you can see is, even if it's black people porn, all you can see is like teeth and eyeballs. And that's not like a racist thing to say. It's like 4th, 5th generation copies. You can't even see the vagina. You can't even see the boobs. It's just teeth and eyeballs. Like a little bit of like a silhouette of like a dick going somewhere. That's it. So, which is bizarre. It's like, you know, they want to stop the spread of homosexuality in prison, like they say. Give us porn. Encourage masturbation. Sell a pocket pussy on the commissary. It seems like a very pragmatic way to stop the issue. You know, because HIV is spreading rapidly in the system. So that's what happens. People have sex on the low. And I've always kind of wondered, like, how that goes down, you know, and I just have no idea how that would actually work. And, you know, I'm sorry for the Southsiders for always using, like, you guys as an example, but this is kind of like what I picture in my mind. Sorry, guys. I do the Southsider voice I think, the best out of all the little impersonations I do. So check it out. So, cell door locked. You know, it's light. It's after lights off. Sorry, and when the lights go off at like 9 o'clock, you can still switch the lights on and off yourself in the cell. You just have to be in your cell and it's locked. They do like a stand-up count, and then most people just turn the light off and go to sleep. Sometimes cellies stay up all night. Who knows what they're doing in there? But so I picture these two Southsiders. One of them's on the top bunk, one of them's on the bottom bunk. One on the bottom bunk is listening to music. One on the top bunk is like reading a magazine. Dude listening to music just starts, banging on the top bunk. Hey, fool. Hey, 97.5, fool. Fucking female, dog. Hey, fuck yeah. And so dude on top starts listening to music too. They're like singing along. It's like a Mariah Carey song or something, and they're like singing along to it, all out of tune. And when the song's over, they both take off their earbuds. Damn, fool. That reminds me of my kid's mom, dog. Fucking miss my Heinle, fool. Hey. What's up, fool? Hey, fuck the bullshit. Let's just have some butt sex right now. Fuck you. Is that how it happens? That's how I picture it. I don't know. I'm not sure if that happens. And another thing I think about is so if it has to go on in your cell, as a heterosexual, I'm always take a dominant position. I always make the first move. I think as women like confidence. If they're throwing signals, I go in and I kiss. I go for the kill. How does that work? In prison with a dude? Because I could see that going very unfavorably. If you try to kiss your cellie and they're not down with it. Hey, fool, can you help me do my commissary list? And so they're both on the desk. One of them's kind of breathing on him a little bit. He's writing it. Okay, you want the mackerels? You want the chicharrones? Mozzarella sticks? Yeah. Female, fool. And he turns a little bit, and then Sally goes to kiss him. Is that how it would work? I'm not sure. Point is I think that it's very in the closet, because of that hypermasculinity. It's not out there, I couldn't even, my political views, I couldn't even really talk about in there because people are so, hardcore racist or what, I can only imagine having to hide your sexuality in prison. There's been some weird situations. I've been in a group shower and, everyone's showering and just people get really weird. You see people slapping each other's asses and just taking it a little far, in my opinion. I've seen guys get straight boners in the shower and it's like a code 3. Everyone's like, oh, Tony got a boner, and people are just running from all over the dorm. This is in your dorm setting with a group shower. Everyone from the dorm's just running to see the boner. Really? Hey, there's a hard dick right here. Everyone's like, what? And they just run towards it. Bizarre stuff. So that's homosexuality, and it differs. I've done most of my time in California. Politically, we're run by the Aryan Brotherhood, Mexican Mafia, Southsider, Peckerwood. I've always been a Peckerwood. I've always hung out with Woods or Southsiders. That's who I hang out with in prison. On the free world, I don't care about any of that. I have black friends, I have gay friends, transgender friends, whatever. Doesn't matter. But in prison, I stick with the whites and the Southsiders. In the Midwest, it's still not something that's socially acceptable. People don't, it's not like, oh, dude, it's Friday. I'm going to go fuck Eddie. See you later, man. It doesn't happen. You hear stories about people giving blowjobs in the education department for $10 worth of stamps or something. But I never saw it in a lot, inmate.com. How reliable is that? Really? Is there some blowjob king just chilling in the last stall of the bathroom, or is that just something that people make up? I'm not sure. I never saw it. The last thing I'm going to talk about is rape. So the point is, though, with the Midwest, with the East Coast, it's still looked down on. Homosexuality is looked down on. It's not prevalent as popular culture would make you believe. Rape, I never saw somebody get raped in prison. While I was in prison, 3 people did get raped. One was transgender when I was at Victorville. Really sad case. She was working at the kitchen, and, in the kitchen, a lot of stuff goes down. Fights happen because you're in like a confined area and there's usually not a cop. They only walk every hour or so. And I guess what had happened is, the transgender was working, and some paisas just jumped the transgender. God, my wife would be like, "Don't call them trannies, that's disrespectful." I do not, I'm trying so hard to not be like that. But they jumped the transgender, and they, like 5 or 6 guys raped her. That's very sad to me. Another time I was at Victorville, same thing. I was in the hole, and we heard these hellacious, ghastly screams in the middle of the night. And it was like an old guy. And it was kind of, it was kind of soulful. It's kind of like Al Green. It was, like I thought someone was singing. And I'm not saying this to be funny. That's what I thought. Next day we found out it was like an older black guy got raped by like a 20-year-old black guy. Youngster raped some elderly black guy while they were in the hole together. And then the third time was when I think it was Victorville again, but the second time I was there, and it was paisas. Somebody had run up a debt, and he didn't pay, and instead of smashing him, they just brought some other gay paisa in there, and they fucking raped him. I think that was at Victorville the second time I was there. And again, I didn't see any of this, but this is stuff that I had heard. And anyhow, as much as people say that there's a bunch of gay stuff happening in prison, as much as I joke about it, and most convicts do, usually if you know someone that did time and you just, you use gay play humor with them, they'll find it funny, and they'll laugh. I'm not suggesting that you try that, don't go up to some skinhead and be like, "Hey fool, I want to suck your dick." Don't do that. I'm going to put a disclaimer in front of this video saying not to do that. But, generally, people that have done time joke like that, and a lot of it maybe is fishing, but I did not see any homosexuality occur in all the different time that I've done prison, collectively about 10 years in jails and prisons all over the country. I've never seen one homosexual act occur in front of me, and I've only heard of rapes happening. One time I actually heard the guy, but it sounded like he was singing, so I don't even know. It might be bullshit. Never saw it, only heard about it, and never did it. Please like, comment, subscribe. Check out my Patreon, patreon.com/RyanLeone. Thank you so much. Palabra.